Here at another episode of Varsity House Podcast with your host, Shaun Crawford. Again, we appreciate your support. Continue to subscribe, like, and comment. And we'll continue to deliver, great episodes, continue to bring on, fire guests, but also check out our Varsity House sports show that we deliver each and every week. So on this episode, we got a good friend of mine, a hometown friend of mine, Jerome Baker, linebacker for the Miami Dolphins, from Benedictine in Cleveland, went to Ohio State, and now drafted to the Miami Dolphins. Been there for, 5 years now?
Yeah, 5 years.
So it's been a journey, bro. And, I appreciate you hopping on. We're in Cleveland, which is, crazy because it's like you play in Miami, you live in Miami, and you decide, to come back up to Cleveland. And so we had Ted in on recently, and he just talked about how, coming back to Cleveland is very important, and just giving back to the community, giving back to where you're from, because we have a lot of talent that come out of here, but we don't have a lot of, people that come back here, and so and it could be many reasons. It could be weather, it could be just environment, it could be many different reasons. But you decided to come back. You had a hell of a season, another season of 100 tackles. And I hit you up this week, and you were like, "Yeah, I got workouts in the morning and things like that." But I'm like, sheesh, you just got done playing. You had another hell of a season. Where'd that motivation come from? Because you talk about it to where you said a good point to where it's like you focus on it now while you're playing, while you have the spotlight, while you have the name, and you don't want to wait till after. Where did that motivation come from? Did it come from, one of your elders, or just maybe your agent, or where'd that come from?
No, so honestly, my dad always been preparing me for this for forever.
Mm-hmm.
For me, football was always more like a vehicle. It was never, a destination. I always wanted to use it to get a free education, to get to do other things other than just play football. Football is just kind of one of those things of I'm just good at it. I love it. I'm just gonna keep riding until eventually it ends. And we all know football is gonna end.
Right.
We all know football is not one of those sports you can play 20 years if you're playing the linebacker position or something like that, unless you're super resilient and things like that. But for me, it's kind of like I know it's going to end, so I just wanted to get prepared and put my eggs in the right basket and try to figure everything out before it ends. And that was really the big factor was my dad. He always just taught me football is one of those sports. It's not going to last long, so use as much as you can out of it, because when it's gone, there's no coming back from it.
Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, that's a huge point. Having a father in the household just from the start, and then just you talk about the mentorship and the guidance that he provided you. Recently, I heard Ryan Clark on ESPN talk about Pat Mahomes and Jalen Hurts having a father, within their household, and and it's something that we don't. I feel like people always want to talk about not having a father in the household and not really shining light on having one. And so you talk about, the mentorship and the guidance that your dad provided you. Talk about some more, like what else he's helped you with.
Man, the reason I'm so big in the community is truly through my dad. He created a nonprofit, Men of Central. It's still around to this day. And it basically was a nonprofit to help inner city kids in the central area of Cleveland. He created that when I was like 9. So it was always any event, I was the little kid holding this or bringing this in, or run to the store and get ice for an event, or whatever it was. I was always that kid of just being around it. So as I grew up, it was more, this is all I know. Like, I was blessed with a lot of different opportunities. If it's football, if it's having my whole family, if it's the support system I have, going to Benedictine. I was blessed with a lot of things. He always just taught me, man, you got to give it back. Everybody don't have the same opportunities you have, and I feel like a lot of people, when you get to a certain place in your life, you kind of forget where you came from. And I'm never going to forget where I came from, and I'm always going to try to help people become the best person they can be. So that's all credit to my dad, man. He definitely challenged me to be something bigger and better than just a football player. And for me, just helping the community is one thing that's stuck, and I just truly love doing it.
It's perfect that you talk about the community, and especially Cleveland, because we're here at Fin and Feathers. And, shout out to Free, first of all, for letting us use this location to, shoot our podcast. But they also, drop some food in for us. We got some French fries and we got some catfish nuggets. So best, catfish nuggets in town. I think it's the only place I know that got catfish nuggets, to be honest. So make sure y'all come check it out. It's downtown Cleveland, but also if you're in the Atlanta area too, it's a Fin and Feathers there. So make sure y'all check that out. But throughout this time, enjoy that. Make sure eat that, and then let us also know how it is. We got some wet hydration also for you if you parch. You're probably gonna get parched, so make sure you take one of those behind you or on the table or anything like that. But continuing to go on, and obviously you talked about Benedictine a little bit, and being obviously we're both from the Cleveland area. A lot of people don't know the history of Benedictine and just some of the people that come from Benedictine, and so obviously like yourself. You got Rich Paul, you got DJ Steph Floss. Yeah. Just kind of talk about, just a rich tradition there.
I mean, it is exactly what you said, man. The tradition there is unmatched. The nickname is the Home of Champions. It's the only school, I think, in the country that won it every decade, the state championship in every decade. Just one of those things. It's one of those schools that it prides itself on the people in it. It's one of those places where, honestly, the friendships I made there, I still have to this day. Still, most of my best friends, they came from Benedictine. The people I met and really still communicate on a daily basis, they come from Benedictine. Man, it was one of those places, man, I'll always be grateful for it. We won a state championship there. We did a lot of things there. We kind of just changed the makeup of Benedictine, but at the end of the day, it's one of those schools that the tradition is always going to be there. Always good in sports, always good academically. And man, I just can't speak enough about Benedictine. It's truly molded me to who I am today, and I'm always be grateful for that.
Definitely, and a lot of people probably don't even know you played running back as well in high school. Obviously you went to college, played linebacker, now you play linebacker in the NFL. Was there ever, a thought of playing running back at the next level?
So honestly, I can just tell you I just told the story. So I remember my senior year, I was supposed to just be this superstar. Everybody was just saying, like, you're going to win Mr. Ohio, you're going to do all these different things, you're going to win a state championship, you're going to be All-American, this and that. I remember playing running back. I played running back my whole life. And I think it was against Bedford. I ended up messing up my ankle, high ankle sprain. And that was kind of like a look in the mirror of, like, I was out for 3 games, so all the stats wasn't going to be the same with everybody else. So it was kind of like a humbling experience. So even when I came back, I truly wasn't back to normal. Right. I really couldn't run the same way I used to run. I couldn't cut on the ankle. So I kind of just played that back role of, I played quarterback a little bit more just so I could hand the ball off, I could throw a little bit. But it truly was a humbling experience for me. But fast forward, I was on a recruiting visit, Ohio State versus Indiana. And this particular game, it is snowing, snowing hard. And all the recruits, the first half, you got to sit out and basically watch the game from the stands. In the second half, you have the option to either go back, sit in the stands or, sit up in the box or whatever, the recruiting room. And I remember sitting there throughout the game, and I just keep seeing this guy make every single tackle. It was like unbelievable. Like, he just kept making every single tackle. He wore this oversleeve, gray long sleeve. This dude was just everywhere. It wasn't too big compared to all the rest of the linebackers, but the dude was just like freakishly fast. And I just kept, watching it. By halftime, I was just like in awe. Like, I got to get back out there and see what he's about to do. Looked up, it ended up being Ryan Shazier. And at the time, Ohio State a lot of schools gave me the option to either play running back or play linebacker. And I was just stuck on running back. That's what I'm gonna do. And then after that game, I'm like, man, I want to play linebacker simply because of him. He's a fast linebacker, undersized like me. He just played the game similar to how I played it. And that's truly the reason why I end up, playing linebacker. That's why I am today. It's truly because of Ryan Shazier.
That's interesting too, because you definitely similar playing styles, and then Going on that visit and seeing a guy like Ryan Shazier, and you talk about, what he, did for your career, basically your career choice.
Yeah.
Also talk about, seeing the player that he is and, seeing him play and do all those things, but also now, obviously after the injury when he was with the Steelers, kind of just, touch on how that might have also motivated you, like seeing him play on the field to where it's like, this game isn't going to be there forever.
Right.
But you see the tenacity he played with, you see what the effort he played with. Do you ever take that, that for granted, or do you use that as like motivation?
Take what for granted?
Just the fact that like it could be over, at one play.
I truly, when I step on that field, it's one of those things that I'm grateful for every time I'm able to. My 5 years, I only missed one game, and I'm truly grateful for that. And I'm truly, it's a blessing because I've been on the same team for 5 years. There's so many guys that I can see they get an injury, and it kind of, changes their whole career. Right? So I'm truly grateful every time I step on the field. But I feel like one of those things of the mind is an amazing thing, So mentally, I don't try to think about, what if I get injured, or what if I hurt this, or what if something happened. I kind of just go out there and play, and don't really put my mind on injuries, because I feel like once you start thinking about injuries, that's when you get hurt. So I try not to even think about it. I try to prepare myself before injuries happen. Nowadays, there's so much technology. You can see what joint in your body is more likely to get injured. I try to do anything and everything I can to prepare myself for this crazy game to play. So that's what I try to do.
Now, have you talked to him recently at all, or just caught up with? Because one big thing that I talked about even with Ted is just like how much from the game of football that you can take into the game of life. And so you talk about having discipline, you talk about being relentless, talk about having effort, those type of things, to where now you see, especially with Ryan, the same thing that he took, that he did on the field, he took it to his rehab process. He took it to, becoming, a better father, husband, things like that. Have you talked to him recently just about the strength that he's shown?
Yeah, so I haven't talked to him recently, but anytime I do talk to him, it's just that, man, he applied everything he learned in football to life. I mean, the list goes on and on, man. He truly just took that process with everything against him, man. He just kept going and kept going and kept going and kept fighting. And like you see, man, the whole world's behind him. He inspired so many people. And it's truly a blessing just to see how he is today and see what he can do today. I think the last time he was working on a book, maybe.
Right.
So, man, he just truly just took what, it was unfortunate, but what happened to him, and he made a positive out of this, and it definitely happened for him.
Right. And so I do want to ask this too, because in high school, it might have been before the game that you saw when you went down to your visit, but you were committed to Florida.
Yeah.
Florida actually, brings up a good point, because it's like there was just a kid who committed to Florida who was like promised like $13 million as far as like NIL and things like that, and then he didn't get it and ended up decommitting from Florida. And so would there have been anything that kind of like that made you stick with Florida, or was it just, or was you going to flip to Ohio State no matter what?
No, for me, Florida was one of those places I wanted to play in the SEC. So I wanted to go, at the time, SEC was winning the championship pretty much every year. So, so when I made that decision, it was, I kind of decided on the best school in the conference that wanted me, essentially. When I went to go visit Florida, I fell in love with it. I fell in love with the whole thing, with the campus, the people, how everything just was. The coaching staff, they believed in me, they showed me exactly what I'm going to be doing. So going in, I was prepared of like, all right, this is what I'm going to be doing, this is the style I want to be playing, this is what's expected out of me. But unfortunately, they ended up getting fired. At the time, it was my recruitment process where they didn't really know who they were going to hire, and time was running out. So I kind of ended up just saying like, I'm going to just walk away from it. Pretty much the only school that kept communicating with me was Ohio State. For me, I loved Ohio State. I love I'm from Ohio, but it was one of those schools of I wanted to beat, Ohio State. I wanted to beat the top schools, and Ohio State was one of them. So that was really my whole process. But once, I saw that they still cared about me, Luke Fickle especially. Even when I recruited, when I committed to Florida, he still checked up on me just as a person. He still checked up on me in school. He still communicated with my parents. It was one of those relationships where I felt like he genuinely cared about me as a person. And when it was time to open my recruiting process again, I didn't really care about any other school than playing for him. So and it all worked out for me. And he was truly one of those coaches where, when we first met and we first got into it, we had our bumps and bruises, but you can tell it was always from a place of just genuine love and I want you to get better. He's definitely a big credit to how I play the game, how I prepare for the game. I still always remember these little things he would say. You wake up in the morning before a game, take a shower no matter what, just to wake you up. Just take a shower, wake you up. Those little nuggets of these little things, my stance, he told me about my stance. I always just took those little nuggets and just applied it, and he truly helped me become the player I am today.
There's also another guy who, came from Florida and went to Ohio State, Urban Meyer, the head coach during your time there. What was that relationship like?
Man, I say Urban Meyer is one of those coaches where he truly knows how to bring a team together, the right coaches, the right players. He knows how to bring them all together to win championships. I never take that from him. He's just always been that guy. I definitely give him his credit for that. But as far as like our personal relationship, it was different. It was definitely different. Coming in, I was this number one, whatever I was in high school. Coming in, it's Ohio State, so pretty much everybody's number one in their state or whatever. And I remember coming into the room, I had essentially Raquan McMillan in front of me, Darren Lee, Joshua Perry. All these guys I'm naming are like
first rounders.
Yeah, like it's not like they're some slouches. Joshua Perry, he was I think like 5th-year starter. It was something like that. So all these guys in front of me were essentially I had to wait my turn, and it was just one particular moment. I remember it was at the cafeteria. We was at the cafeteria, and it's similar like just a regular circle table. I'm a freshman, so I'm still trying to figure out my way. And I remember he sat down, didn't say anything to me, started eating, and he was just like, "You're a recruit mistake." And I was like, "Wow, like, man, like, what's going on? Like, what do you mean?" He was like, "Yeah, you're not the guy I thought, we had. Like, you're not who you say you were. Like, you're just not that guy." And it was kind of one of those things of like, I already felt like I was lost in the way. I already felt like I was trying to figure out what I was doing, like trying to figure out the way to being, a Buckeye and be a great Buckeye. So it was kind of one of those moments of like, it was hard to come back from it because once the head guy said that, now you just feel like your assistant coaches feel like that. Now you feel like your leaders feel like that. So it put me in a very, very dark place. But it truly was, for me, I leaned on other guys. I leaned on Joshua Perry. I just started talking to Joshua Perry literally just because, like, bro, I need help and you got to figure it out. So just, help me essentially. Same thing with Raquan McMillan, man. He helped me in ways that I can't even explain, to be honest with you. So I just started leaning on other guys. Fast forward that year, somebody got hurt. So I was going to redshirt that year, but somebody got hurt, so I had to play. Ended up playing just a special teams guy, just did my thing, pretty decent year. Going into my sophomore year, that's when, I don't know if you remember it, but springtime, Joe Burrow, he threw a pass, I caught it one hand in the spring game.
Yeah, of course.
That was like my moment of like, oh, okay, we have something in him, like there's something there. But again, I had Mr. Football himself, Dante Booker in front of me. Okay. So it wasn't like, I'm going to just step into this role and take his spot. But, it's a game of football. He ended up getting hurt the first game of the year. So the second game of the year, I had to play. Like, Like, it was time for me to step up and play. I remember I was super nervous. We ended up playing somebody smaller school that we knew we were going to beat. Smaller school, just to wake you up, kind of get used to the game. Had a decent game, and then my second start was at Oklahoma versus Baker Mayfield, and you know what they have over there. And I said, like, that was the game. It was kind of like my coming out game of I became, I guess, who I am today. Well, I could really play this position. I ended up having a bomb game. I think 2.5 sacks, whatever tackles, pick 6. I had basically a bomb game. And that kind of just set the tone to my career. But what got interesting with Urban Meyer was we never really addressed what happened. It was never, honestly, all I was waiting for was just like, I was wrong.
Right.
I was trying to get in your head and help you or anything. We just never talked. Like, it was like one of those, you gonna say anything? Like, you said I was this and I turned out to be this. Are you gonna just apologize? Or it was nothing. But I'm sure I always took it like it was just a way to motivate me or something like that. But we never talked about it, so I'm just gonna take the positive route and say that. But similar in high school, college, the NFL, going to NFL, a lot of linebacker coaches would say, like, you're too small. You don't play the game like how I want a linebacker to play. There's nothing I can say. If that's how you feel, that's how you feel. And the particular coach, I went in, he said that, and it was strictly just respect. He was like, I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm not gonna waste your time, you're just not the guy I would want. Respect it. Fast forward, I ended up playing my rookie year, had a pretty good rookie year. Fast forward, we ended up getting that coach on our coaching staff, right? Yeah. And it went from, you're not the guy I want, to, yo, I need you, like, you're my guy, like, I need you to, do your thing. And I always respected him because he sat me down and was like, Jerome, I was wrong. Everything I said before, I was completely wrong. You're a hell of a player, you're a hell of a person, whatever. And I respected that. But Urban Meyer was never that. We never had that conversation. It was just whatever. How you gonna say that to a freshman in college? Right. And not expect that to, kind of mess up his confidence a little bit. But it is what it is. I'm not gonna let that deter me or mess up me. In a way, I guess you could say, look at the big picture, it helped motivate me, so I'm thankful for it. And but yeah, that's kind of my relationship with Urban Meyer. That's stuff.
And now also, is there, after telling that story, it kind of makes sense as to why, maybe he wasn't successful in the NFL, but you've obviously spent a lot of time, with him. You've also learned from him as, on the coaching side, maybe not on the personal relationship. But do you, obviously you weren't on the Jags, but do you have any, thoughts or, speculations on why he maybe didn't succeed?
Man, the NFL and college is completely different. College, you can kind of get away with a lot of things because they're young, so they're just going to follow the leader. Where in the NFL, it's like we're all our own, essentially, businessmen. Like each career is a business, and you have to truly look at it like that. So if you're telling somebody to do this and expecting everybody to do the same thing, we're all not the same, so it's not going to work. You can't keep 100+ guys like you can in college. You're going to have to get rid of them. So a lot of guys are not going to go for that universal thing that you say. And I don't know, but I can see where that creates a lot of conflict. But like I said, it's all a learning experience. There's a lot of coaches that came from college and it worked out for them. You still can always say this, like Urban Meyer, he's definitely one of the top college coaches ever. So you can never take that from him, and I'd never take that from him. He's a hell of a coach. He knows how to build a championship team. He knows how to see talent, and it just didn't work out for him in the pro level. But when it comes to college, man, he's definitely one of the top college football coaches ever.
Yeah, you definitely said a lot as far as when you were talking about Ohio State and just some of the players that you mentioned. And, we can also go down the list of, some players that you didn't mention, like Zeke, Mike Thomas, Burrow, who was, maybe third string at that time.
Yep.
A ton of, just a ton of talent also in your linebacker room. And, you had Marshawn on the outside, you had Denzel, all these people, there with you. Specifically, Burrow, because obviously he's the big, conversation starter right now, and you obviously got to play with him, and you talk about that play that you made, on him. Kind of just talk about two things. Talk about just Burrow and did you think of where he'll be where he is today?
Yeah. But
also playing on a team with that many guys who are elite level, first round picks, those type of guys. Talk about does that, should that scare a kid, or should that be motivation for a kid who's coming up in college? They got to sit behind people, they got to wait their time, but you could also you could look at it as two ways, to where it's I'm waiting, I'm here, I got to wait till they leave, or it's an opportunity for you to learn from them like you did.
Yeah.
So touch on those 2 points.
Yeah, so first when it comes to Joe, when I met Joe, it was actually the state championship game. I think he played after us. So he got to watch me play, and I got to watch him play a little bit. And that was my first glimpse of all right, he's going to Ohio State, I'm going to Ohio State, we're going to eventually meet. When we got there, he's the Joe that you know today, man. He can put him in any room, and he's going to talk to anybody. He's going to just be that guy of just he belongs. But when you get on the football field, before we get to the football field, when we do the mat drills and how he was doing in the weight room, the guy was just a straight competitor, just a straight dog in him. I'm going to win. That was the big thing with Ohio State, was it's either winners or there's losers. And Joe's one of those guys that he prided himself on winning and winning and winning and winning. And he did whatever it takes. He took that, oh, you're a quarterback, you're not supposed to be strong, or you're not supposed to do this, you're not supposed to do that. He took that and threw out the window. I'm going to win. I don't care who it's against. I don't care what you say. I'm going to win. Don't treat me like the other quarterbacks. I'm going to get it done. And if you look at it, that's always how you've been. In high school, he was a winner. College, he was a winner. NFL, he's a winner. And just seeing that, I can just tell that, back then was, whatever he do in life, he's just going to win.
Right.
He's going to win. And man, that's all he truly did. And I remember I was looking, and you think we got JT, Dwayne, and him. It was you can put any one of them in, and they're going to get the job done, win you games. But Joe's just one of those guys that he did whatever it takes. He didn't have the quote-unquote strongest arm, or he wasn't the fastest on his feet, or whatever you want to say. He was good at everything. He can throw the ball the right way, he can read defenses, he can scramble with his legs when he needed to do. He did whatever it takes to win, and that's what guys really gravitate towards. You're not a quarterback, oh, you're scared to get hit. No, Joe's not scared to get hit. He learned his first year in the league, he was getting popped a little bit, but he learned to he was just a winner, man, and guys gravitate towards winners. And man, I just always been happy for success. Even at LSU, he still hasn't signed it. I got a newspaper article. I just kept it in my house. I'm just waiting. One day I'm going to see you, and you're going to have to sign it. Any of the times we played against each other, I always forget it. But
right.
One day I'm going to get it, tell him to sign it. But I've always been a fan of not just the player he is, but the person he is, man. He was one of those guys that he truly just was a winner. I'm definitely happy for him.
Yeah, that's the point. That brings me to that next point. The other question I asked you too is a crowded room, and a big conversation is oh, why didn't Joe start over Dwayne? But you see what Dwayne did. He go and set Ohio State records, passing records, and y'all go on to win, or they go on to win, 12 plus games, during his time, and so you look at that and it's just it's just a lot of talent that's just at Ohio State, and you look at other schools like Bama, you look at other schools like Georgia, but low key that's what it take to win the national championship, because injuries do happen. Like you talk about Booker, who was the Mr. Ohio, right?
Yep.
And then you see him, you go in, and now you elevate the level of all the linebackers. You elevate the level of the defense. And so I say that to bring up the next point of, you talk about, the crowded room and, having to wait your turn and be behind different guys.
Yeah.
Just talk about, how that aspect, at Ohio State specifically helped your game.
Man, I think that really helped me, not just with football, but in life. Like, nothing is going to be easy. Like, everybody thinks you're supposed to go into college and, they're supposed to just give you your spot and just, do whatever. But when you go into those programs like Ohio State, Bama, those big powerhouse schools, there's going to be guys in front of you that were just like you. And for me, I took it as a challenge of, this is the standard and I have to beat this. Like, this is what it is. Like, Mr. Football, this is who he was. Credit to him. Like, the guy was a baller. I had to learn everything he done. I had to learn everything Josh Perry was, Raekwon Millen was, Darren Lee was. And for me, I always took, like, I'm going to try to combine all that and become Jerome Baker. Like, that's just always the approach I had. I feel like even now, like, you talk about all these kids transferring and doing all this, it kind of takes away of that that mindset of, like, man, you have to be tough to play this game. You have to be tough in life to do this. Nothing's going to be easy. Nothing's going to be given to you. So you really have to have that mental strength to, keep going and fight and fight. So, man, for me, I took it as, this is a challenge. I have all these guys in front of me. I didn't know how long I was willing to wait, but I didn't look at it as like I was waiting. I was just learning and taking everybody's game and applying it to mine. And that truly made me who I am today. Like, without Joshua Perry, I wouldn't understand a lot of things, not just of football, just from we talk about being early to something or showing up when everybody leaves, doing a little bit more. When you talk about studying for the game, I wouldn't know how to study if it wasn't for Raekwon Millen. I'm gonna tell you now, he truly helped me understand linebacker, like X's and O's. Like, he truly helped me do that. I wouldn't have that swagger of, I'm the best on the field if it wasn't for Darren Lee. The guy would tell you today, I'm the best linebacker you've ever seen in your life. And he believed it, and his approach, how he played was, yeah, you are what you say you are. Like, and I say that if all those guys in front of me, without them, I wouldn't be me. I truly took every part of their game and applied it to mine, and it worked out for me. I wouldn't be, go hard in the gym so hard and train myself if it wasn't for Booker. Like, I truly wouldn't have done that. And those guys push each other, and essentially I was a part of that room, and they pushed me, and it worked out for me. So all these kids that's just going and leaving and doing this, you're kind of setting the foundation of, when things get hard, I leave. Right. And in life, everybody knows this. Life is going to be hard. So are you going to just run away from it, or are you going to sit there and face it? I'm not saying it's wrong to leave, but one bad thing and you leave, you don't get something your way, you leave. That's just not how it works in real life. So hopefully something happens or whatever. But that truly sets the foundation of your life. When things get hard, I'm running away.
Now, also, you touched on transfer portal, and obviously a lot of things are different in the college game now, including NIL, name, image, and likeness, allowing, student athletes to profit off their NIL, which I think is, amazing, because obviously the universities and, just other businesses were able to profit off of the athletes and, the performance that or the way they performed on the field. And so, now you see guys like riding around and, crazy whips.
As they should.
They got, designer on, which to me is fly, because it's like, that's because I look at it as, you've already worked so hard to the point to where it's just like, for you to, receive some benefits for, what you've done, just to, how much you've accomplished already, I think is great. because also everyone's not going to go to the NFL,
right.
and everyone's not going to be able to make those, you know, brand partnerships or, you know, have sponsorships or those type of things because they don't go to the next level.
Right.
But you can still be an amazing college player and things like that, because you look at a guy like, you know, a guy like JT Barrett, and I know he was, you know, obviously in the NFL for a little bit, but you look at the career that he had at Ohio State, to where it's like he could have set his, you know, family up crazy, could have set himself up crazy while, you know, just from his college career, and he could have had partnerships that he's still working with to this day. And so I want to get, you know, your thoughts on obviously NIL, but then also, you know, how you think you would have, you know, profited or benefited from it.
Yeah, so I'm just like you, man. I'm happy for, you know, all those young men that's getting that. You know, the amount of time and effort and things you put into this game, especially at, you know, those big schools and those schools that's really, you know, making essentially billions of dollars off of you. I'm definitely happy for those, you know, young men to, you know, get a part of that. Not just for them, but to help the family, help the people around them, and do all of that. But at the same time, the only thing I worry about is, like, if I give an 18-year-old $1 million, is he gonna know what to do? So the only thing I wish or I hope is happening is those schools are preparing those young men of, like, real life. Like, this is not normal. Like, this is 1% of the world makes this type of money for real. So let's not just blow it away. Because I knew when I was in college, those what was it, the FAFSA checks you get every semester, whatever. I blew those. Like, I
over with.
Completely blew them. Like, I thought I was the richest thing ever. Like, I blew them. So only thing I'm hoping that's happening is, like, you know, they put in place where, like, programs are, you know, help kids understand, like, this is what you should do with taxes. This is how money works. You know, things that can help you, long time after football. But as far as, like, getting that, I'm definitely happy for him. With me, I definitely would have had some fun with that.
Yeah.
You know, just the personality, man. I feel like those guys that have personality that can go out and not just play football, but have fun and truly enjoy the game and be entertaining, they would have truly benefited from that. And I feel like I was one of those guys that, you know, when I play football, I love it. I'm having fun with it, but I'm truly having fun because this is a game.
Right.
Like, this is truly a game. The business side is the business side, but on Sundays when I step on that field, I don't look at it as like, whatever, this is the NFL. No, this is football. The same game I've been playing since I was 6. So I'm gonna still play and have fun like I've been playing since I was 6. And why I say that is because it worked for me. Like, the moment I'm stuck up and I want to do this and be all serious, I never had a good game where I was super serious. I never did. My best games is when I'm out there laughing, having a ball, we're winning, we're doing this. Just that energy of, like, it's more than just X's and O's and this is our livelihood. That's all true. But at the end of the day, this is, you know, a game. It's just that. It's just a game. So I truly think I would have benefited from it, but, you know, I'm benefiting now. So I'm happy for those behind me. And all credit to them. And I wish they pay them more if you want to. So
yeah,
they out there doing it.
Yeah, you also that brings us to, you know, obviously where you are now. You know, we talked about the college career, but, you know, now being in Miami with the Dolphins, you know, you're fortunate enough to be there your entire career so far. You know, you talk about the you know, having fun, and that was some of your best games. I remember a game you were mic'd up, and a clips, you know, NFL posted and everything. It was like you were saying, like, "Hey, mom," and, you know, doing all those things, and, you know, having fun, being loud. I feel like you ended up on a great team because y'all got a lot of personalities on that team. You know, Christian, you know, Tyreek Hill, Waddle, like obviously all those guys with their dances and, you know, all the stuff that they do. You know, just talk about Tyreek Hill's addition, you know, to the team, and, you know, what he brings to the team as well.
Man, he brought that winning culture. You know, it's hard to build a winning team without no winners, essentially. Like, it was nobody that truly won. So it was kind of hard to see, like, oh, this is what winners do, because none of us knew. We all was essentially, losing teams as far as the Dolphins. So when he came and he run that swagger of like, this is what we need to do, this is how we should play. But he didn't come with that I'm better than you attitude. I could say like he's arguably like one of the best teammates you can have. Like he's the superstar, Tyreek Hill, all that. Mm-hmm. But if you take away that, he's still just a great teammate. Like let's all get together and do this. Let's all have he's essentially the reason I had my Halloween party. Let's have a Halloween party and invite all the guys. He was that teammate of, let's get a paintball table in front of the locker room. Let's have fun with each other. Like, let's do that. And he really brought that to life. He was a very big, advocate for that. And people can say what they want about Tyreek Hill, whatever. But if you met him and you're a teammate of his, he genuinely cared for you. He genuinely just a great teammate. And, he brought that winning culture. And that's why he is who he is. So shout out to him.
Mm-hmm. Now you obviously didn't have to guard him, like one-on-one, or maybe you did, but have to take on that burden or anything like that. But as far as like game planning, because obviously camp you played the offense a lot. Mm-hmm. Was there anything from the DBs that was just like, bro, like we got to be on our stuff today? Obviously with Waddle too back there or out there. It was like something from the DB, so it's like maybe you had time to like chill and relax, but it was like they was like, nah, we gotta lock in because they trying to bomb us every day.
No, they literally pushed our defense to its limits. Like, there's been times we go up against them and we're just trying to figure out like, yo, how are we gonna slow down this? Like, it's no way you think you can put one-on-one with Tyreek Hill. So all right, now we're gonna put somebody over top. Where when you do that, you're taking away from your defense in some type of way.
Right.
And he created so many different challenges. Waddle, same thing, so many different challenges. I think the only time, the first time, guys always say they're fast. Everybody say they're fast, whatever. But the first time I was like, oh, this guy is super fast. Mm-hmm. It was training camp. A simple, like, when I say simple, it had to be like a simple, like, out route or whatever. It was just inside out, make a tackle. Easy for me, right? And I'm faster. I'm thinking I'm fast, whatever. This guy turned the corner so fast. It went from he's going to the sidelines, like, we're going to meet, make a tackle, to like, I had to stop my angle. It was like, okay, I'm going to meet you down here. And that was like my first time, like, oh no, I can see why they say he's cheating. Like, he's genuinely, he can change your angle in a heartbeat. And it's not like his top speed is that he can get to his top speed in like 3 steps. So you're looking at like, and he's smaller, so those smaller guys, they're harder to really grab sometimes. So that was my first time like, man, this dude is blazing fast. But I think our team, just in general, we just have a fast team. But yeah, Waddle, Tyreek Hill, you got to look at like all the pieces we had. Like, we just had speed everywhere. And I'm not going to say our answer to it, but we had an interesting way to slow it down a little bit. But that's all you can do. You can't stop that. Like, you can't stop those two. You can really just slow them down. So it's definitely a challenge for us.
Would you say he's the best receiver in the NFL?
Yeah, by far. Mm-hmm. He's the best receiver because you can't. Who you gonna line up one-on-one with him? Like, you name it, he shown up and did it. And with what quarterback? Put any quarterback with him, they're gonna love Tyreek Hill, just regardless of who it is. He put up numbers with whoever you put out there. So, man, he's definitely my number one. And credit to him.
And you talk about, you just mentioned the quarterback, and obviously in the offseason there was a lot of talk about, Tua. Is he going to be able to throw the ball to those guys and, things like that. But he also comes from a winning culture. I feel like you guys have a lot of people that come from a winning culture as far as college. The Clemsons, Ohio States, the Bamas. And so I'm sure, he's heard, the negative, noise before just coming up, and he's played with great players. So he knows how to obviously get the ball to him. Like, he played with Judy, Smitty, he played with Ruggs. Like, he played with all these different guys, and now he's with Waddle again, obviously. But what was it like, being in the locker room with Tua, with Tyreek, and obviously having all the outside noise just solely focused on them, and it wasn't positive. It was like you supposed to get Tyreek Hill, and like there's supposed to be positive energy, like, oh, the Dolphins are going to be a great team. But I feel like it was the opposite. It was like, can Tua perform? Can he get them the ball? So what was all that? What was that like?
Yeah, I'll say this about Tua, man. He was one of those guys of he heard it. Like he definitely, you can tell like he heard what people were saying, but he didn't look at it like, oh my God, like they're talking about me. It was like, all right, bet, I'm gonna show you what I'm gonna do. So I just remember like his development over the years when he first came in and all that tanking for Tua, that was all for him. So the expectations for him was just like through the roof already. And the guy just put his head down and worked. No matter what happened, he worked. He just truly just tried to get better in every aspect of his game. If you was around him, you really admired that. Like, he didn't care what nobody said or what any blog or media had to say. He truly knew, like, I'm putting in the work and it's going to work out for me. That's all I know. I'm just going to keep working and working. And even, this year we got, Hill. To me, it was kind of like amazing. Like, how are you going to say something when they haven't even stepped on the field together yet? Like, you can't judge or do whatever, man. You just can't say that. So when this year, when he really started having some success and doing things he's been doing, I was just so happy for him because it was like, after all this been said, you still do your thing. Like, I truly appreciate that. And when he come into that locker room, his head is high. He's ready to lead. And he's not afraid of, I messed up. That is very hard to say in a room in the NFL locker room. I messed up, it's my fault. And I truly appreciate how he just went about his business on the field, off the field, his family. Everything he done was just in the right way. That's all he knew. He didn't let anything change him. He didn't care what anybody had to say. He just worked and worked. And it's working out.
Now he does look like one of those guys that you talk about. He's done everything the right way. He gets out into the field early. He does a lot of like preparation and things that go into his game. Was there ever a time where he just might have been like out of character, not out of character in a bad way, but in a way to where it's just like he just let all of his like emotion out, and it was like all right to it, like it was just something different to see that you saw from him?
Was it ever a time like that? I think the most recent time, whatever game, he didn't have his best game, which anybody that knows, quarterback is probably one of the hardest positions to play. So you're not going to be perfect every game. In this particular game, he just didn't play well, which is fine. But to see him like come up to the huddle, he stood there and he took it like a man of like, I didn't play great. Y'all expect me to play well. I didn't play great. It's not my fault because we knew it's not just his fault. But he took it as like, I'm the leader. Y'all expect me to do this and I didn't do it. I apologize for that. For me, it was like, that is I can't even call him a young man. That is a grown man right there. Like, he's truly, this is his team and we all behind him for that. That was like the most recent moment. He was always just been that guy, man. He's going to do whatever it takes for the team just to win, to push the guys around him. That's why we all love him. That's why he's our number one quarterback.
And, a couple more things before we hop off. Give me, I don't know if you can, answer this fully, but I talked to Minka in the past, and we talked about, Flores, and we talked about just management, organization in general. Minka was a little bit more open because obviously he's not there anymore. But touch on just maybe the difference between Flores and just way maybe things were ran to now with McDaniel, and obviously he's having success early.
Yeah. Just look at it like this. Like, Flores came from Belichick. So, with everything with Belichick, he don't smile, he don't say too much, he try to, take the media out of everything. That's how Flo was. But with Flo, the one thing was, I always appreciated with him, he was always honest, good or bad. He would not lie. He's going to tell you how it is, good or bad. He's going to be blunt. That's just how he is. And I always appreciate that. The one thing I can always say, like, it was one game, I forgot whatever game it was. I wasn't playing good. I'm just gonna be real with you. I wasn't playing good. We all knew it. I wasn't playing good. And at the time, this was the 2019 season. We wasn't good anyway, so I wasn't playing good. And he expected me to, be a leader on our defense and, make plays for us. And he pulled me to the side. It's his pictures. Everybody thinks like he's telling me to play or whatever. He's really just ripping me a new one. Like he's going in on me on the sideline. Basically telling me like, you're playing like trash. Like, this is not it for you. Whatever. And that's just how he was. Like good or bad, he's going to tell you you're not playing good or you're on one today. Like keep doing your thing. So that was like the whole thing with Flo. Like he's always been like that type of guy. With Mike, there's just two different personalities. Like Mike's gonna tell you how it is. He's gonna be real with you, but he's that more younger of like. I still understand of like we're young guys. Like we're young guys. There's no one way to do certain things. Like he understands that guys might not feel this way towards this. Like, what's the reason to have a uniform when you do this? Like, why should we have a certain type of this? Why not we all just show our personality and come out and do that? So it was just two separate sides, honestly. Like, they're just two opposite people. But the one thing with both of them is like they're just honest on how they feel. They're super smart. They know what they're talking about. And I always appreciate people like that. If you know what you're talking about, I'm going to listen. And they both know what they're talking about. It's two competitive people. Mike is one of those coaches that you wasn't, I'll say that certain people with Flo, you could tell that they're more intimidated by him. So they didn't want to come and speak to him because they were scared of the truth. That's what I felt like. But with Mike, it's kind of like, he's more laid back, he's going to joke with you a little bit, he's going to tell you how it is, but it's going to come off a little bit more easier for you. And that's why I feel like he's more of a player's coach. He's going to kind of feel what you're saying. But, Flo, I think a lot of people just wasn't ready to hear the truth. And, if you're not ready to hear the truth, I wouldn't go ask Flo. That's just how it was.
We definitely appreciate your time. Obviously, we're here in Cleveland. You say you're going to be back in Cleveland a lot. Like you say, you guys, some business ventures here. You're going to be training here as well. So, appreciate you stopping by. Appreciate, you taking the time to come on and, do this for me and just have a conversation. It's been a minute. And so, like I said, it's great catching up. But again, this is Varsity House Podcast. I'm Shaun Crawford with Jerome Baker. And so we appreciate you guys. Continue to, subscribe, comment, like. If you want more content like this, comment, guest names, share it to different guests, anything like that. Just continue to show your support, and we appreciate you guys. Thank you.